Did you know in a culture of symptom reduction where you want tools to just fix that issue in your life, it actually may be making your symptoms worse? Today, we're with Andria Booles, one of our Crawford Clinics amazing counselors. We love her to the moon and back. And she is getting her doctorate in somatic understanding of how the body stores trauma, trapped emotion from our life events. And we live in a culture where we're whack-a-moling all of our symptoms and trying to fix and solve instead of letting our body honor and express and have a voice for what needs to be cleared out. So thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, I adore you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are your thoughts? How would somebody know if some of their health conditions or psychological symptoms might actually be somatic? Somatic means your body's converting the energy.
Yeah. So it could be something as easy as numbing. It could be something as easy as headaches. Anything in the body, any part that's kind of popping up and we're thinking, oh, I want to push that back down. And if we ignore it long enough, it's going to come into a disease.
Yeah.
It's going to move into something a lot more harmful.
Yeah. And this can be weird for people because when you use words like energy, they think, oh, new age, stay away from that. So try not to get lost in terms. They're just human, man-made terms. What it means is every time you have a thought, you have neurochemicals. It's electric chemical energy moves through your brain and moves through the peripheral nervous system. And so that's your fingers, your toes, your ability to dance and cha-cha, all the things in your life because of your central nervous system communicating with your peripheral, or your fingers and your toes and limbs. In order to do that, that's actual energy moving through your body. And a really cool thing that I love is the Bible says, guard your heart above all else. It's the wellspring of life. So that's your heart. And so they would say the center of all of your energy starts with your heart, not your brain. For all the neuroscience geek people out there, it's actually your heart. And so you have tons of neural pathways and all kinds of energy and electrodes right there in your heart. And then it goes up towards your head, down, sternum, and then to the right and the left. So it's actually forming the shape of a cross. So the cool thing about the way the body's designed is it's supposed to move energy freely. But what we've learned with the somatic symptoms is what is happening to that energy and where is it getting stored?
Well, I just think it's almost like a red light signal coming up like on your dashboard of your car. It's a check engine. It's like there's something down there. So everything that we absorb, really, we're most susceptible at moment of conception. And so obviously your brain isn't formed, but there's a receiving happening when you're knit together.
Yeah.
So you have your spirit, your soul, and your body coming and colliding, and immediately there's pain, there's thoughts, there's beliefs that are entering into that process.
Even in utero is what she's saying, not just at birth, at conception, like the actual moment of being in the womb, we can have trapped emotion and we can feel mom's emotion through the uterine wall as well. So in the atmosphere around her life, but also her physical emotion can affect baby. And there's tons of great research and even a great TED Talk on how much baby is feeling and how that wires how they come out of the womb. More cautious and apprehensive if mom was anxious, or if mom was peaceful, they're more curious and lean toward new experiences. So super fascinating. So even from the womb.
Yeah. So especially from the womb, like I said, you're most absorbent at time of conception, and then it goes down just a little bit all the way to 5 years. At 5 years, you pretty much have the blueprint of your core beliefs until they're changed.
And that's so important because many times we're walking around going, okay, fix my mindset, think positive, do all this mindset work and tools and techniques. And you're trying to solve and fix something at a software level when really it's much deeper than that. And that's not to overwhelm us, but it's to locate. We actually have to open the hood of the car, red dashboard light. We have to go down there and then find, oh, there's a precious part of me believing this from conception to 5. And now those parts need a voice. They need to process it. And back to the movement of where your energy is, which forms the shape of a cross in case you're hearing this audio. Now, when the body is storing trapped energy of emotion from your past events and the body keeps the score is a classic book, highly recommend. And I'm sure you're going to tell us a million other ones. But from that place forward, that emotion gets stuck in the body, which is actually like energy. It's like stagnant, bad, staticky energy. And so then the body can't move the energy to heal itself naturally beyond that point. So that's where people, it might be in their head. It could be headaches. It could be digestion, gut issues, fibromyalgia. There's lots of different ways that our body isn't able to regulate and heal and correct itself. Or it can be even an autoimmune condition because the signals are getting staticky and the body isn't able to send the signals the way it was intended at creation.
Yeah, exactly. And we put off that frequency.
Yeah.
So, right, there's a field around each of us that can be measured in science. And basically, that's inside gets projected out here. And so if we're disconnected to our body, right, because from a very young age, that just was overwhelming, right? Those protectors in the body can come up. So we disconnect to where we're not feeling those feelings, right? So if people are having issues with pleasure or having issues with knowing what they like or what, tastes good, all of those things, that's just an indicator that there's a disconnect going on. And then to the outside presenting world, you're projecting that lower frequency. So you're actually inviting another person in with that lower frequency as well. So if you are kind of wondering like, why am I getting into these relationships? Why are all of these things happening that I know better, but they're still repeating? It's because of that energy that's being released out.
Yeah. So let's unpack that a little bit because a lot of us, we're not from backgrounds of energy work and somatic symptoms and just the more advanced science side of where our field now is. But if I'm understanding you right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that our body emanates energy. So kind of like when you say, I like the vibe of that person, or like, I just like how I feel around them. Like we're picking up energy from one another. Again, I'm trying to super not sound new age, but we're understanding that we are energy beings. And when we're relating with others, we could be sending out not just thoughts and feelings and emotions, but actually signals. And then those are kind of familiar and they hook people. So rejection tends to get more rejection. Predators and prey, a lot of people are like, why do I keep attracting the narcissist? Why do I keep attracting abusive people or needy people that just try to suck me dry? And you're like a strong person for everybody. You might have something in trapped emotion, trapped energy, that's gravitation is pulling that towards you. Not in a manifest your destiny way, but just like we feel things, we have energy and we pick that up versus a higher frequency. Well, you're saying that when it's healthier, you're more robust, you're more confident, and you're more likely to attract confident, healthy people in your life. Is that right?
Yeah. And so also understanding that there's masculine and feminine energy, and that has nothing to do with gender.
Yeah.
Right. So the more masculine energy is what's projected. So if you meet someone that's more aggressive or just the way they speak is louder, right? That's from, this side of the brain that is operating that side of your body.
So for the sake of audio, is that the left side?
The left side.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the same is the opposite is true, I guess, but the same principle for the feminine energy, which goes inward. So that's why when you have pain, right, you have unaddressed trauma that you may not even know it. You probably don't know at a conscious level, right? It's in that precognitive stage of life. You're either going to project outward and hurt outward, or you're going to go inward and have that project inward in hurting self. So it's almost that self-sabotaging or projecting that out to others.
Yeah. That's so important. So I'm feeling we're going to do another episode just on who we're attracting.
Yeah.
And then let's keep on this one really with the health stuff.
Yeah.
So if people are experiencing chronic health conditions, you've gone to the doctor, you've tried all the things, you've done the supplements, but now it's like, man, there is just something else. My body is in disease. It's not doing well.
Yeah.
Is ease, right? So if you were to meet with somebody, where would you start in helping them, explore that?
Yeah. Well, first we would kind of determine where they are in the symptoms that they're feeling. So even at, every feeling is felt in the body. And most people, even if they don't know right away, right, the body will be able to express that. Even if you say, imagine this, right? The subconscious is what kind of comes up first, but our consciousness wants to edit it or it makes us think, are we making this up?
Yeah.
So there are definitely tools that we can go through to kind of separate and allow the subconscious to feel safe and to kind of direct us in what's happening. And the idea is, how do we get to the initial sensitizing event that keeps getting recreated all through life, that the body is signaling saying this needs to be addressed. So the law of compound, right? When you have a like sense feeling within the nervous system, it can only hold it for so long. Typically around 35, 45 is where the body's like, I've had enough.
Yeah, I'm burnt out.
Right. I can't keep holding this like sense feeling that is coming up.
So let's go a lot slower because everything you said is so brilliant, but I want to make sure that we're putting it in translation of normal people like us. Okay, so you're saying that there's energy and it's affecting us, it's affecting our health. And when you talked about the original event, I was thinking translation like triggers, because maybe that's a common word that we might use.
Yeah. So an example would be if mom found out she was pregnant and she wasn't expecting that, and she had an initial thought, I can't handle this. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right. That gets transferred to baby. And
that's no shame, no condemnation. We're not blaming anybody. We're just
Right.
saying the reality. If you're making a cake, here's the ingredients. And so it's helpful to know, even if it was a fleeting thought, there could be a felt sense of being unwanted or overwhelming, like you're too much. Even if nobody actually said that to you, that could have been something felt in utero, even though they love you to the moon and back and it wasn't personal.
yeah, absolutely. And so every time that gets recreated, whether in utero, out of utero, probably multiple times through life, there's a felt sense that it's triggering.
Yeah.
And so over time, that law of compound just keeps adding and adding and adding. And we go to consciousness. We go, I feel this way because this current circumstance
Exactly.
happened, right? And that's the blame. And so we could consciously know, I don't want to do that. But then it's, again, attracting more circumstances and situations that's going to allow that to continue to reoccur till we go back and we meet the needs of what that unconscious part of self at that young utero age had felt.
Yeah.
Right. And there's definite tools that allows us to go and to meet that. And it's so much simpler than we think.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the Restoring Self-Cohesion method at Crawford Clinics, that you'll get a very unique experience, that we're not just at the surface level saying, have better mindsets, here's some tools, here's some techniques. We're actually taking you down to reprocess the original event and then the way that that has just rippled through your life with different people, events, circumstances. Because one of the tricky things is people can even get fixated on one point and think that's the reason I have this, right? Instead of realizing that's probably maybe several down the line in the law of compounding, that's the one that stands out. So people might come into session going, oh, I've been in therapy. I know it's my dad. I'm aware that it's my ex-wife. I'm aware it's this. This is what is making me upset, blah, blah, blah. I just need to work on this. And that actually could be a part of your defense response to try to encapsulate it with the illusion of control. The illusion is, if I can just solve and fix this, then I can distance and separate from the original pain that consciously I don't know is there, but unconsciously my inner world is trying to deflect away from.
Yeah.
So helping people go, okay, that's really important. Let's definitely meet you where you're at and process that. And let's stay curious that we can go back and do the repairing part of the restoring self-cohesion part to go back and see what part of me is holding this chronic feeling of being unwanted, rejected, too much, overwhelming, not enough. Yeah. And so would you just give us one exercise that we could walk through with our listeners today?
Yeah. So just recognizing, right, if there's an unwanted feeling, right, that you have. So just being able to kind of get still, quiet, and allow that feeling to kind of come up to the surface. And allow your hand to just kind of move to the part of the body. So invite your consciousness to kind of step out of the way and allow your hand to just move to the place where you're feeling that felt sense. And then you can kind of start anchoring your thoughts into, right, what that is. So that if you call it energy, you call it frequency, just allowing you to see the color that kind of pops up first, that space represents, the shape, maybe the texture. And then you can actually even then start to allow it to be pulled out. Like physically using your hands and pulling that out. Remember, you have that 8-foot dashboard, and you're just bringing that out into the surface. And once you feel like you have as much as you can get, just ask a yes or no question to your subconscious. Did we get all of that substance? And even having those descriptors, whether it's a black fluid square shape. And if you feel like you have gotten a yes, just kind of allow you to see it right in front of you. And it's just like if you were to ask your inner world, you know, where's that red balloon, right? You see it right here in front of you. It may be over here, it may be over here, but it is in front of you in your dashboard. And so as you recognize kind of whatever that frequency was that was storing and holding the representation of that feeling, that felt sense, now you have the ability to change everything about that. So you can draw a black frame around it to keep it kind of confined into one space. You can edit the shape, make it bigger and smaller. And remember, we're bringing up your imagination, your right portion of the brain. Maybe you change the color. You change it to whatever pops up first. You want a bright pink, just painted and splashed all over it. You change if there's been a movement, maybe there's been a vibration. Maybe you want to change it to be swirly the opposite way. You're just changing everything about that frequency. And then when you feel like you've gotten it to where you want it to be, you can just crumple it up and you can ask your subconscious, are we ready to throw this away? And then just imagine throwing it back as far as it can go. And then you can test that by seeing, can you bring up that original felt sense, right? If you're at a 10 with that body feeling, right, it's probably just going to lower it a bit. But that's why you kind of start that practice with a 0 or a 1, a 2.
To have a baseline.
Yes. So you're encouraging your nervous system that this actually is a tool that does work.
I love that. That's so good. And then tell us a couple stories, some of your favorites of things that have helped people in the somatic work.
I just think seeing the difference, right? And it's such I feel like a kind, it's very gentle. It's very much of building safety and connection within self.
Yeah.
And so just seeing how, you know, there's been so much energy trying to push down that emotion.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we can do all the supplements in the world, but if we're not getting that initial sensitizing event, right, it's still going to pop up. Even through EMDR, even through all these other amazing resources, it's not going to be sustainable, right? It's like pulling weeds.
Yeah.
And so until we get to the very earliest part, and so there's just very gentle ways of building a rapport within the relationship between myself and client, or even mainly within client and client.
Yeah. Yeah. Different parts within ourselves, not multiple personality. We're just saying different sides of us. And I'm going to have a session with you tomorrow as friends.
Yes.
Not as therapy because we have ethics, but I'm excited to explore this more. And I've seen it with my clients as well. A lot of chronic health conditions, the more that we, I remember one client would just chronically have heart conditions, and he was always at the doctor until finally he was like, all right, I'm going to try therapy. And the heart condition finally relaxed and he realized he was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Right? How our body is actually imitating for you externally what it's feeling on the inside, you know, or somebody else always had digestive issues, always in the doctor, always in supplements. And then once they were able to say, oh, I have swallowed all my emotions for so long that trapped energy is causing my digestive system not to digest properly. and everything that gets swallowed, now that's like a bad frequency, a bad chatter. And so the body can't utilize and peacefully absorb. It's always taking everything as a food allergy. So it's just really interesting how a lot of it can be allegory if we learn how the body and the soul and spirit are communicating, and one affecting one affects all.
Right.
And so the more holistic, like the work you're doing, I'm so proud of you. And so I'm just so impressed and I adore you. And if you ever want a session with Andrea or any of other amazing teammates at Crawford Clinics, you just book at crawfordclinics.com. You can also text us 817-601-5540. Thanks guys, and we'll see you for the next episode. Bye.